Are there actually pins there with for the lots or no?
No, there's no pin set on the lease.
Okay.
We just kind of measure them out. I've got there's 3 buildings in a row down there now, and I've done 2 of them. One's my own hangar, and we always have just kind of measured it up. It's all round and adjacent to the buildings, so there doesn't seem to be any worry about encroachment.
Okay.
So what do we say on the extra, that first one? We had enough information, or we need more?
You doing it 8.1 or you doing the whole thing?
Well, I guess.
The whole section 8?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
Described as Lot N, as in November.
Yeah.
Brent, I think to answer your question, there is a legal description of those lease lots.
Okay.
I've seen it.
So he'll be able to maintain this offsets, right? Right.
Yep, there are written
Okay.
requirements for setbacks, and it just, we'll have to have them on that plan.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was a copy of the lease agreement that was shared with us that's going to the council. I remember seeing that somewhere amongst the big packet.
I put a copy of the lease in the packet.
Okay.
So, Catherine, are we right in saying we're just reviewing this more or less with exactly the same information as the previous application, and we'll have to just wait for the final plan to come in? But
I called for the applicant to Plymouth Engineering, but I didn't get a return phone call because they have not gotten their plan as of yet. I had planned that the whole project would be the same.
it'll be identical, even the same map and lot number.
Yeah.
So, okay.
The
Makes
only
sense.
change is the the actual lot number at that hangar.
And the lease, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Do you think we should go through step by step, or basically ask for if there's issues with any sections?
You're familiar with the airport and have done several hangars there before, so it's up to the board if you want to take the whole application at once, which is the same as
Right.
the prior one that Frank did.
So I think Walter is the only one that's new on the board that wasn't here on this last one.
Yep, but
Do you see
she got a
anything?
copy, I didn't see
You didn't see nothing
Any
that stood out to you?
objections? nothing there, red flag.
Yeah, I don't want to go around procedure, but
Yeah.
Well, and basically, they're going to take and cut a hole in the existing pavement and put a new building
right.
on top of it, right?
Yeah.
Off in the grass.
Yeah, it's no pavement.
It's off
Oh,
the
no,
side
it's
runway.
it's not, it's
Old
not,
runway.
no.
But I would submit that the application is going to be, the answers aren't going to change from the one they did last year.
Right. I'm okay with going as it is.
Formally waive going through the old.
Yeah. So if I get a
I mean, there's no traffic impacts, there's no
Right.
sewerage.
There's no water, no sewer, no none of that.
Circulation for the fire department's all good, no water. Nothing.
Frank, will it be unheated?
Yes.
No services? Electrical?
Yeah, we can get power.
With CMP now, to get because there's another hangar down there that's without power, and we're trying to get in with the town's project, the taxiway, and work them all together.
I couldn't really hear what he said.
basically they're trying to get power into the other one hangar that doesn't currently have it when they do everything.
I think the town's T hangar.
This hangar on a generator right now, because the project across the taxiway for the town's hangar was held up last year. And what we're trying to do is, so there's no redundancy, use the one period of disruption to take care of both our hangars that don't have power, as well as the one that you guys are building across the street. I'm sorry, across the taxiway.
So I guess I would look for a motion to approve this pending final plans and approval by town council for their final lease.
I make a motion that we approve it based, based on the conditions that you just said.
Any more discussion?
I'll second it.
Brent will second. Any more discussion? If not, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Passes. So that'll save some time there. Okay, Frank, I think we've got everything set for now.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to new business. Rezoning or conditional use permit by William Barnett for 354 Stimson Street, map 24. Currently contains 354 and 342 Stimson from residential to commercial to establish a small fitness center. And I guess you want to give an overview of what we're looking at?
So basically what it is, it's a 3,600 square foot building that will have key fob access 24 hours, fully automated inside. Members can sign up online, gain access, and have an actual place for fitness here in Pittsfield. The full service fitness center, basically, weightlifting equipment.
Is it in that existing building that's already there, the black?
The gray and black building, yep.
So what was the history on that?
So I've always just had a gym in my garage, and so I've been buying equipment for the last 10 years, and I just kept expanding, and now I have a building that's big enough to put it all in, and I have a number of people that come to me in town are like, could you open this up to the public? So I'm like, well, I gotta go through the process if I were to do that, so that's where I am today.
So had you done, when that was being built, was was building permits pulled for that through Steve and everything?
Yep, Steve was during the whole process, except for the last part of the plumbing inspection was some guy named Gagan was his last name, and he's the one that approved the final part of it there. But
Because I had other people ask me what was going on there, and I said,
it,
I wasn't sure because it never came before the planning board at the time.
right. No, it was just a garage that's got a couple bathrooms in there and stuff like that, and then it kind of evolved into more now. So
What's that zone? Which one?
It's residential?
That one is R3,
R3?
which
it's lot 19-20 and 19-1 on my map here.
so that's just
It's right across from the Hancock Farm building.
Oh, that one that's highlighted into one,
Well, that's my house.
Yeah.
Like,
that's where you're
I
at?
own all 3 lots there,
Yeah,
but that
yeah.
building is on 19-20 and 19-1.
Okay.
R3
I know what it
is
is.
technically 1 and 2 family residential districts. That's how it's described.
Are we gonna need a site plan or something to?
No, not really. It's not a
Traffic
site
and-
plan. I think the best way to potentially, I mean, it's not an allowed use as it currently is to have a commercial thing like that in the residential zone, so it'll need a conditional permit. Which essentially means if we need some kind of way to say that it won't have any detrimental effects on the neighbours, on the neighbourhood. Things like noise and traffic, and so I don't think it's not a formal site plan process. So I think it's just you just need those assurances, I guess, or information that about its future use that will everyone's comfortable with.
We're not supposed to do a site plan review on that.
I don't know if it triggers. Is it big enough to big enough to trigger a site plan review?
In looking at the files, there haven't been many conditional use permits issued by the town, but the ones that were issued, there was no site plan review application in the file. There was a discussion on each of the conditions that are listed in the zoning ordinance under section 6, conditional uses. And as our planner indicated, it can't, upset the neighborhood. It has to fit in, and there's a variety of items listed here. So I would think we'd go down through those items and see if we need more information.
That was,
I found it on page
I
30.
guess I would ask to make sure that there's sufficient parking so that, people won't be parking in front of the neighbors and, things like that.
Were abutting landowners notified?
It indicated conditional use or a zone change, so we needed the planning board to, determine how you wanted to proceed. And then we can notify the neighbors. I would think that we'd need to answer the questions that are on the zoning ordinance if you wanted to do it as a conditional use, or if you thought it needed to be rezoned. The rezoning is more complicated.
Right.
So if you go to the residential table P, section 1, and under residential district R3, conditional uses, daycare centers, daycare homes, Class A, charitable association, benevolent association. That's under the conditional use. So we can't give a conditional use then. I mean, it's not even listing, right?
I don't know, I'm going to admit, I've never gone through this, so I guess we'll put our heads together here and
Catherine, the list of questions or conditions?
Yeah, what I found in the ordinance, beyond looking at the chart, section 6 indicates conditional uses may be granted by the planning board after considering the characteristics and location of the proposed use and of other properties in the surrounding neighborhood, provided that the petitioner shall submit to the board statements in writing which may be accompanied by diagrams and photographs which become part of the record. And it demonstrates the following. 1, will the definition and any specific requirements set forth in the ordinance for such particular use, will it meet that definition? Then it talks about 2, will it be compatible with the general character of the neighborhood with regard to design, scale, and bulk of proposed structure? 3, will not have a significant detrimental effect on the use and peaceful enjoyment of abutting property as a result of noise, vibration, fumes, odor, dust, light, or glare. 4, will not have a significant adverse effect on adjacent or nearby property values. 5, will not result in significant flood hazard or flood damage, drainage problems, and such soil erosion. 6, will be served adequately by but will not overburden existing public services and facilities, including fire protection, sanitary sewers, roads, water, and storm drainage systems. Upon showing that a proposed use is a conditional use in the district where it is to be located, a conditional use permit shall be granted by the board. Determine that the proposed use will not meet one of the that sentence sounds funny. Let's read that again. Upon showing that a proposed use is a conditional use in the district where it is to be located, a conditional use permit shall be granted unless the board determines that the proposed use will not meet one of those requirements. And I believe several people met with our alternate code enforcement officer, and he talked to them about conditional uses and rezoning and everything because the lots were commercial and they wanted to conduct commercial activities. And 2 of the 3 people he talked to are on the agenda this evening, having brought in their information or some information. So we could determine how to address them. How could this be done to fit into the neighborhood and to allow them to do the uses they wanted to do, if that was possible. And you're correct, we haven't had many of these. I've been here for 22 years and I only remember one.
Well, I mean, definitely with Hancock Lumber being across the road from it, it's gonna, and,
I mean, it's a nice little facility.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
yeah, I
it's-
mean,
like I said, Hancock's
definitely.
across the street.
I only know exactly where it was in that residential, but definitely that's a plus. So Catherine, I mean, the reason it didn't, because of the square footage of the building, that's why it didn't come in front of the planning board, it was just under a building permit?
Looking at the conditional use permits that were listed, the code officer would be able to just give a building permit because it needs some sort of permission from the planning board if it's acceptable and meets some.
No, I mean back when they built the building.
Was it classified as a residential when you first built it? That's why it wouldn't have
Right.
decided.
Yeah, I think it was viewed as residential.
We didn't
It
make,
started off as like my big garage.
yeah,
Right.
we didn't make the decision to try to do something else with it until recently.
So technically, if it's a change of use from from residential to non-residential, it does need to go through site review, looking at the applicability of the site review section.
That's what I was kind of wondering, you know, it needs to go,
What page were you
because basically we're gonna need to know
Yes,
traffic flows.
And that'll give you all the information
Right.
to know if it would
40.
be suitable for a conditional use permit as well.
Right.
I wondered about that. I did look through the applications. We have all the conditional uses together, and there are no site plans in their folders. That doesn't mean it shouldn't have one.
You know, where it's changing technically from residential to business or commercial, you know, it probably, you know, I would lean towards probably having a site plan review, so some of these other questions as far as parking, traffic flow, and things that sort of looked at.
So is that connected to the town sewer now?
Yep.
It is.
You got water in there?
That must be.
Yeah, it's all spray foam. It's all
Yeah.
it's like a high velocity air conditioning heating system in there.
So, you know,
I think it's just for everybody's benefit.
Right.
Otherwise, there it's just to have a.
because in the same thing with site plan review, we have to have, you know, a letter from
The
water and sewer
Yeah.
departments, you know, stating
It's adequate.
adequate and things of that sort.
Right.
So, are you familiar with what the site plan review is?
I'm not.
Okay. Essentially, it's a step-by-step process, you know, going through, and, you know, questions need to be answered on, you know, on a lot of different things. I'm not the expert on it, but code enforcement officer, if available. Is the new person taking the spot yet?
We have a temporary code officer. Al Tempester hurt himself, and so he's on leave, and he's been out so long he's thinking of retiring. So at this point, we have Travis Gould, who's an assessor and code officer in the area, and he's just like Al, has several of these part-time jobs, so he's covering until we get a full-time officer. The pickings have been slim, we'll say, on getting people for that type of position, or for any municipal position,
I
for any position.
Right. So I guess the thing would be to,
I'm happy to help out if need be. People
Right.
need assistance with the process of the forms and
Is that online? I don't remember.
I don't know.
We have a copy that we send out to the applicants.
Yeah.
yeah, possibly that would be the thing to do, is to get a copy of that. You could go through it, and then when you have questions, you could meet with, you know, make an appointment with Joel or the other temporary code enforcement officer. Because there's going to be things in there that you're just not sure about.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they might not be anything real serious, but just if you're not used to doing that.
Yep.
If you wanted to look at this, tonight, this is Frank's, who was first
Okay.
on the agenda. That gives you an idea of
Perfect.
what happens, and then there could be an engineered plan with it.
So we need to make a decision right now whether it's going to be a
Well, do we-
conditional use
I guess
or
my-
commercial.
So my just thing is going to that chart where it's laid right out, conditional use, and that does not come under it, in my opinion. So I just gotta be educated on how that be able to,
Was Catherine reading from the same? But it sounded like there's some flexibility there.
I think she was in a different section.
Yes, there's also the chart, too.
Right.
That's why it was left rezoning or conditional use. I couldn't find where it could be approved, but it seems to fit into the neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I have a problem with the area because essentially Cross Street's all commercial.
It's all
industrial,
commercial,
right?
right?
Yeah.
And being on the last lots on that street, which is a plus too.
Actually, on the other side of all those lots, all the way to the end of the street is
Right.
commercial already
Right.
as well.
But when the zones were set up, at some point that side was residential. Things can be changed, but that's a bigger process than
Right.
potentially.
so do we know that at the end of that, where lot 19-1 is, or 19-1, that next map says that that's a commercial
It
residence?
is, it's the old bowling alley that burned down.
I mean, the zone ends the last lots off the main road.
Yeah.
So everything along Raymond, everything along the east side of Stinson is all that rural zone, and then it's the industrial park on the other side.
Right.
I mean, that's how it's zoned, but like you say, if there's actual evidence that there's other things going on there, then they must have had to get a conditional use permit as well.
So that simplifies it for me better than, that if that lot beside it is all commercial, that's what you're saying, right, Joe?
Are you right up against the lot with the trailers in it?
Yep.
The box trailers?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, the box street, which is technically in a residential zone still.
That is?
Yeah,
Oh,
looking at the map.
Yeah.
oh, it is,
Zone,
okay,
where
I'm
the
sorry.
zone
I'm
boundary
understanding.
It's just the ones that are in Route 100
Bowling
are different zone.
Oh, out on Route 100?
Yeah, that's commercial, so just...
So again, so the bowling alley lot is residential, that's what you're
Yeah,
saying?
the one behind those ones off the main road is in R3. Looking at this.
Oh. Okay, sorry, isn't it? We have to kind of
I
check
mean-
this one.
And yeah, I mean you're right. In that table P, I'm not sure if those where it says conditional uses is that is complete hard exhaustive list of only what's allowed to be conditional in the zones, or if you can still grant a conditional use just based off a petition to do so. I'm not quite sure if there's any precedent with that. So like I say, it only mentions daycare, daycare centres and charitable benefit associations, but that's not much.
Do we get legal counsel to give us some insight?
We would have done that, but all of the town attorneys were out, and MMA wouldn't handle specific items, so we felt since we received the application and we were having a meeting, we should go forward to put our heads together and, try to figure out a course of action, because it does seem as though it fits down there.
Yeah.
Catherine,
How do we do it?
when you were looking at previous, I know you said there wasn't many, but did you find any conditional use permits? And were they, did they fit the same kind of thing where they weren't necessarily listed in the table?
I didn't find that they were listed on the table.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't? Oh.
I didn't.
It does basically, if you were to go exactly off what was in the table, then you wouldn't be allowed to have any kind of anything that wasn't really just a residential thing in most of those residential areas, which seems
Well, that's probably that's the intent, right? That was the
But it's the intent.
When we put it together.
That's the way I read the chart, is the things that are on there are kind of an automatic yes. We're pretty close, that you just have to do a quick review, and they should pass.
Yeah.
And the special conditions are things that you can't anticipate, that, you can't have a list of everything, every business that could ever come down the pike.
Right.
Where's the special conditions? Where does it say special conditions? So I guess I'm the only one that's really questioning.
No,
No, we have to figure it out.
The definition of conditional use is uses of a special nature as to make impractical their predetermination as a principal use in the district. Not particularly helpful.
I mean, the quick thought comes to me, if we're right up against, almost up against a commercial zoning, is that if that bowling alley isn't commercial, which that light bulb didn't come on for me, and this one wants to be a commercial, is go and change the zonings for those 3 lots,
Right.
and go through that process.
well, you
I don't know if it's that
you
simple.
would only want the 2 lots, not the 3.
But in our sense, we might as well just be proactive so that lot is zone commercial, and we don't have to come back.
I mean, it's
It's a no-brainer. I guess my.
There's a woodyard right now, right?
Huh?
The parking lot is a woodyard, right?
Well, I guess he's got some wood over there, and he had trailers over there. But I mean, I know we're not talking about that lot. We're talking about these 2 lots.
Right, but like you said, though, you might as well just.
But I mean, if that's what how that wants to
To do a zoning change, it'll be more complex than,
If there's anybody going through a zoning change.
And is that a town council?
Yes,
Ultimately, yeah.
it's both the planning board and the town council, which you both would have public hearings,
Public hearings.
scheduling it.
Sure.
And there's certain time frames in between when the planning board acts and then the town council acts. It has to be found to be in accordance with the comprehensive plan, and then the timetables. This is why this is sort of an iffy type item. Long term, you're exactly correct, Mark. You would deal with the whole situation. It's just it may take some time to do it that way.
to go through proper zoning change could potentially take 6 to 12 months, depending how fast things move.
Well, so does everybody feel comfortable in saying that we allow a conditional use tonight and but not get legal counsel? I mean, the only thing I would,
No.
Personally, I think, we should go through, there should be probably some sort of site plan review, so there is more knowledge of everything that's going on.
well, but I mean, I see that as happening after this conditional use takes place. He's been here tonight to do the conditional use, and then he would have to come under that conditional use. He would have to come back and do the site plan review and get approval there to proceed. And the one thing here that I see is that the building's already built. He's already got the building there, and that's why the site plan review would happen, because he'd be proposing the building.
So if they do a site plan review, then the abutting landowner is going to be notified,
Yes.
right? That's how. Yeah, remember that.
Oh, that's yeah.
Then they can come in and have their say.
Are you improving the parking, or?
Yeah, like that garage and stuff that's there, that's all getting torn down, and it'll be parking along the whole side there and up front.
So you're adding,
But I just haven't torn down the garage and stuff yet, because I'm using that storage while I'm working on it. So.
So do we need to give a conditional use tonight so they can proceed with a site
Well,
plan?
do we want to do that without legal counsel?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I
I
think
want to
we should,
figure out, we're here to try to figure out how to do this because we haven't had anything that's fitted to this type of category before for a long time. So we should check with the town attorney.
yeah, I think go to get information from the attorney so we know what way we go, what we can do first, what needs to be done first, just so it doesn't come back to bite us later.
Well, in order for them to go ahead, they're going to need both.
Right.
One way, so it's just whether it is allowed to give that conditional use, because even if it's not explicitly mentioned in that table, would be the question that I think needs answering. And then the conditional use permit would have to be granted, and then you'd have to do the site plan review as well.
Right.
And the site plan review would satisfy all the information that you need to make the decision on the conditional use. Apart from the fundamental one about whether it's allowed to be granted because it's not specifically mentioned in that table.
And there is a sentence in the ordinance that does allow, if the items are very similar to what's listed in the table, it's permissible to go forward. But this one's more complex because of the way the zoning is set up in that area. It's sort of as though it should have been commercial, but isn't, because the commercial has extended into the residential areas there by natural course. The building's already there, and we needed to figure out how to do this. So you could do the conditional use and site plan together.
Yeah, one would inform the other.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You get all the answers through the site plan process that you need to, check off for the conditional use permit. It's only a change of use, obviously, the building's already there. I mean, there might be some changes to the site in terms of who's actually going to improve the parking and everything. So it's just whether the question of whether there is the leeway for the board to do that, or whether you're absolutely set in stone based on that table provision that you rightly pointed out.
And then let's say it wasn't permissible, we want to look at whether we would want to propose a rezoning for the area. And there may be a couple of others. It's like this all happened at once when we've got people that want to do items that sort of fit into the area, but it's not zoned the way that it would need to be for what they want to do. But it seems to fit well.
And the site plan will help you folks with signage, lighting, that type of stuff, and it's be beneficial for everybody to.
Yeah, the application's easy enough. The issue is, as you would have heard on the first application, getting an engineered plan, because the engineers are really backed up, and so I even called for the first applicant to try to get their plan here and couldn't get it.
I got you.
You have some construction plans for that building now?
I do. The building was all engineered
Right,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. I have
That's just
it.
includes something like
That'll
that.
be
I needed all that for Steve.
Yep.
That'll be a big plus there.
Yes, that is.
That was a pre-engineered package.
Yep, and it had, they actually had to increase whatever it was, because Pittsfield required like a 90 pounds per square foot on the all that stuff, so they had to beef it up a little bit more.
Catherine, are you going to get in touch with legal counsel then?
I am, yes. Now that I see how we want to proceed, because this one was a little complex and the code officer wasn't sure how to handle it.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good question answered anyways, regardless of, right?
Yes.
The future.
Yes, we've got another thing on the agenda with exactly the same question.
Yes, and we have another one out there too that just didn't make it in time. So it sort of all happened at once.
So I guess at this point,
Then we'll table this, right?
table it.
Make a motion to table this? Is that the motion we need to?
Yeah, so there's a motion to table it. Do we have a second?
Second.
Corey, second. All in favor? So I guess that's where we are on that one, so now you can do some homework.
Okay.
It's not that hard. And Joel wanted to help you out as
No, it
well.
isn't that hard.
There's my information. I just thought my character was inquiring.
I think some of my papers went with it.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so we'll go to new business C, rezoning or conditional use permit by Adam Friend and Robert Trask for the vacant property on North Main Street. From residential to commercial to establish a towing and vehicle repair business. You're up.
Thanks. First, Adam wants me to apologize. He couldn't be here tonight. He's dealing with a mess at one of his other properties. Basically, the lot used to be a repair shop back in the day. It burned. It's been vacant pretty much ever since. We're basically just looking to do the same thing again. 6,000 square foot building, centered on the lot. 2 bathrooms, no real water usage, no pollution. We drain the crashed vehicles, burn the waste oil, burn the gasoline, burn the transmission fluid. Antifreeze is recycled. As far as noise goes, we're Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Tow trucks are dispatched nights and weekends from the driver's home, so there's no in and out traffic all day. It's on Route 100. Building will be centrally located on the lot. 2 large doors on one on each end for tractor trailers in and out. 6 automotive bays and a 30 by 30, 30 by 40 square foot office, basically located center of the road side of the building.
So on that one, Joel, that's listed now as residential.
R4, yeah, so,
'Cause,
exactly the same issue, I think.
yeah, you know,
It's probably going to need site review, well, it will need site review, new commercial development.
unfortunately, in front of you, there's probably nothing saying when it was turned to R4, because I remember it when it was, you know, when it was the establishment, you know, a number of years ago.
Oh, you remember when there was a building there?
Oh, yeah. I'm not that old.
Well, I've been here 25 years, and I don't ever remember a building.
It's been more than 25 years.
Okay, good.
I've been here
I'm glad to hear that.
40-something years, but
40-something years?
I don't remember exactly when it
50,
went down.
55 for me.
I want to say it was burned late 80s.
I believe it was.
Late 80s, early
Dad
90s,
told me,
something like that.
I was 3 years old in 1980, so I don't really remember.
Now we're
that.
good.
I remember the building. I remember
How far does the residential zone go up through there?
Basically, one more, it's 20, map 29, lot 19, it's the big oblong one, and then there's one more to the east, and then it goes into,
Highway commercial.
Does it go all the way up the hill, across from the hospital?
no, there's only one more lot. I wish I could kind of share my screen here.
Well, there's
There's a map here showing 20.
so is
Yeah,
that
so
20, that 20, that lot 20, is that?
Lot 20 is in the same residential use, and
About
then
21 and
And
85.
then the real long skinny one, 1648, is the one that goes into R1, which is
So that's all residential too. Across the road,
across the road is R2.
Okay. So I know that M16, that map 16, that's all one parcel. Well, Deer Hill Apartments is part of that. And then I think part of that goes all the way up to the farm up on the hill.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it. Dean Homestead Farm?
Yeah, Homestead's farm. I think that comes back down around there.
Yeah, that's a big
Looking at
one.
map 16. So I live over there, Matt, on 12, block 12. So all this, I did it once already, I'll say it again, it's not in the conditional use chart. It's a negative thing, sorry, but
Yes, I think we're in the same situation.
Same
Who developed that conditional use chart? Is that something that we developed, or that is the state developed
It was developed by the town,
by the town?
That was through the comprehensive
So-
plan.
yes.
If we developed it, I guess I look at this a lot like the solar farms. You know, their use wasn't specifically mentioned, but the intent was there. You know, to cover utilities, whatever.
Did
And
they
I
get-
think that
Did they get-
we just need to look at whether maybe we should look at that document that we created and see if it's adequate.
Actually, that'd be a third option. Instead of going for a wholesale rezoning, you could look to amend the ordinance to broaden what's in the conditional use section of the table, which would.
did Shinbrook need a conditional use out there on the solar farm up on the interstate?
I think solar farm. Looking at it, solar farms got added to the table. I think.
They were adding, oh yeah, that's what we checked that, yeah.
That was in, it was highway commercial,
The
it
conditional
was
use
split,
based on
highway
that,
commercial and
on
industrial.
us making that change.
So I don't know if it's quicker to amend the ordinance in that way than go for a full-scale rezoning. You'd probably still have to have a public hearing because you amended an ordinance and the council.
It pretty much has the same steps.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean the same thing. If you're amending the ordinance or amending the zoning boundaries, it's the same thing. Okay.
It is usually harder to do a rezoning because there's more questions you have to ask in reference to the comp plan.
Well, doesn't some of those fees probably go back onto the person that's trying to get it rezoned, Catherine? We wouldn't pay for that out of.
Well, if there's a rezoning, there is a fee for the advertising that's on the
That's all
floor.
it would be?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an advertising fee if you're going to rezone. It's and I'd say we haven't used that for years, so likely the price is really out of whack. Because usually people don't go for a rezoning. If there's a way to look at this and see the value of that area that's heavily gravelled, that's been gravelled for decades, and where it could be used for a business, being a wide open area along a major route, if it's permissible to do that, it's probably a good use for the property.
Well, that's why, where I knew it used to be building property, I was kind of surprised it was residential. I just wondered if it was turned back to residential sometime in the last 30 years, or it was always residential and there was just a building done 70 years ago on it.
I'm not sure we'd be able to figure that out. There are older copies of the zoning ordinance, but there are no charts with them.
Yeah.
So we have tried to figure these things out before, and we've found it hasn't been. We haven't been able to get all the data together. There's not a good history. Although we do have copies of the ordinances going back to the first one in the 50s.
To be honest, it looks like when they were developed, it was just an arbitrary line kind of
It could have been.
picked out,
So I have a question for the
rather than
applicant.
looking what was on it.
Have you talked to an engineering company at all about the engineering necessary to put that building on there? And
We haven't. Adam actually is one of the owners of the property. He's just kind of, we're here because we're the business owners that are going to go into the spot. The planning, the site work, all of that is going to be onto him. We're going to lease purchase it from him.
So I would lean towards this having to go through a site plan review
Yes.
and everything all the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to know what we're getting ourselves into as
Right.
well as the town. It's.
So Adam probably has connections on,
I'm sure he does.
engineering stuff. Not that everybody's still behind schedule on things.
Right. Even if you know a guy, he's still behind.
Right. So I would almost lean towards, same as we did on the other one. We'll get a direction to go from the attorney, and then look at, going from that point.
And that information that we get will be able to help the other person that's out there that didn't get on the agenda.
Okay.
So it was sort of amazing that 3 of these would all show up at the same time.
Okay. Is there any other questions or discussion? Anybody have? You have any questions? Other questions for us? Or?
I'm going to turn it over to Adam. Let him know what he found out, what he's going to do.
Right.
So it will take a while, but it's depending on the course of action. If the ordinance is amended, that's like a 3-month process to get to the end there. We could do it sooner. If it's a rezoning, that might be a little bit more complicated. So we'll see if there's a way that this can be the conditional use. That's why the temporary code officer was sort of leaning that way.
Yeah, so to maybe use the conditional to work toward the full process of rezoning, kind of conditional until you complete these steps, basically.
Or it
Is
might
that-
be able to be conditional without rezoning. So we just didn't have an attorney available at the time,
Right.
too. So we thought, let's get everybody going, and we'll figure out how to do this.
The only reason we would thought with this applicant is because it's right on the end of.
Yeah, there's commercial like everywhere.
And there's commercials
Absolutely.
around it. That's where my thought was. Whereas this one, if
You got residential.
it's in the middle of residential.
Yeah, it's
around
surrounded by
it.
residential versus they're surrounded by
Right,
commercial.
right.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I agree that definitely it's been vacant and
It's a big enough lot too. You could site the building where it wouldn't be too
yeah,
too
right.
close.
I mean, it's over
Right, yeah.
120 feet deep. It says, I think. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, and we're going to use about half of the actual area, so the building would be pretty much centered. So we'd have parking for trucks on the back, on the hillside toward the hospital. We'd have truck parking on the other end of the building, unless they're loud and bother the neighbors. Then whatever, leave them on the other end. And cars could park out front. Automobiles. We could
Which
be
is
60
close.
feet. It's
Which is close to the veterinarian hospital.
Right.
it skips a few spots, but we're kind of close to the end of. So maybe
You'll have to probably go with the state and get an entrance permit.
Yes, yeah.
You could be of that.
Yeah, I believe we'll probably have to have two. I don't know if you need one for each driveway, but we'd like to have a driveway coming in and kind of a U-shape into the parking lot so you can come down the hill and come in, or come up the hill and come in.
Yeah, that's all part of the site plan review, get
Yes.
an entrance permit.
Yeah.
Water.
And that will hopefully not impede traffic as much if somebody's pulling out or coming in. Or
One advantage you have there that is not an advantage for everybody else is the speed limit drops to a rock right there.
They gotta look, right?
So you're, well, it's, you know, because you have your sight, your line of sight for driveway entrances. So if it was 50 miles an hour and that drawing down towards the river, it might cause an issue.
Right.
But where there is an entrance there, you know, I don't want to say it's grandfathered in, but you know, it shouldn't be a problem. Is there any more discussion on this, or we'll table this with have a motion to?
I make a motion we table the rezoning condition from William Barnett, right? That's the right one?
Nope.
No.
Nope, wrong one. Next
Adam
one.
Friend, Robert Trask.
Adam Friend and Robert Trask.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. I guess.
got some homework too.
Adam does.
It's probably gonna be me. It's probably gonna be me. Let's be honest.
No, let's be honest, it's probably going to be me.
Then you.
Okay. You don't need to stay around if you can leave. You
Okay.
need to, but it's up to
All right. Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good night. Get you this one.
Okay, we'll do. We got.
Can I ask a question then? I know. To get conditional, what is it? Conditional.
Additional use permit.
Now, they go through a full site plan review, and the cost of that doesn't guarantee they're going to get a conditional use, right?
Probably not. Yeah.
Well, that's why I was saying that the conditional uses first is to get a guarantee for that before the site plan.
And I want some input from the budding landowners. I mean, these folks are surrounded by the.
Oh, yeah.
Are surrounded by
That was-
residential, and the other ones I can get this. I can understand that one, but
That was-
you
that was
could
different.
determine if it's going to fit. The proposal is going to fit with the realities of the site and the neighbours and the
We're gonna
layout.
have to, we're gonna have to get the legal advice.
right.
Yeah, and that will tell us how to proceed. Whether they would do it all together or whether it's iffy and they need to do it in two steps.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's what you're saying. Was it? Oh,
Well, because you got to lay out some money to get a site plan review,
Yeah.
right? And then if you don't issue one on for the conditional permit or by a budding landowner's not liking it.
what were you going to have him do, Catherine, when he came back? Were you going to have him come back as a conditional use or do the site plan and the conditional use together? What were you thinking?
It would be based upon what the town attorney indicates, the
Okay.
way to proceed.
Yeah.
We've got 3 of these all at once. The code officer was only in for like a couple of hours in a
Right.
week. The attorney was away. So we figured let's bring everybody
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
planning board and hash this out to see how we want to.
My take is that there's going to have to be site plan review for both of them regardless. Well, but obviously, there's no point doing site plan review if you're not going to grant the conditional permit because it won't be allowed in that zone. So, but you're going to need a certain amount of information to determine the conditional use. Because you need to know what it's going to look like and
Well,
the impacts before you can consider it's going to.
well, isn't that application type deal for conditional use in our zoning?
It's listed for the conditional use on the questions that you would answer.
Yeah.
But this is somewhat tied with how this looks to the neighborhood. People will want to see.
I would almost guarantee we would have a public hearing for these.
Yeah. Is
absolutely.
there a scaled down site plan review? I mean, just some basic knowledge instead of.
I mean, you can go through the site plan review. You can go through the site plan review and say there's a lot of non-applicable sections, especially for the one that's not the building already exists.
Even on Frank's application, there were a lot of NAs down through it.
Right.
You just type into that area so it's all together, so you helps you with your findings of fact than doing the letter.
That, to me, that's relatively straightforward. It's down on the Banner runway, and it's similar. These are
These are a little
bit more complicated. Yeah.
Because they've got
They
neighbors.
involve the neighborhood.
I'm just thinking, is a way just to do a scale down site plan review and make that, try to do the conditional review in a public hearing at the same time. Because, you know, you can spend $5,000 for a set of plans.
Right.
Or more.
I'm just wondering if there's like usually there might be a pre-application thing where you just kind of get more of a sketch plan
Right.
and stuff, so you don't have to do a full expense
Yeah.
of a design.
Yep. And just a sketch and, you know, some basic information. And
I'll look, see what it says.
And use that for your public hearing.
do that for the public hearing, then it's this uproar or whatever, then you may have to rethink the whole thing.
Well, you could do that too, because the site plan process and the subdivision process, we somewhat combine these things to move it along, so you could separate it out, so you can get the feel of what's going to happen here, and that would be less costly for them.
Right.
Until we
Well, I think both the towing company would be to their best interest, and hopefully they do it, if they, when they come back, if they do have a conceptual layout of some sort on that lot.
Right.
A conceptual layout, maybe not the full engineering, if
Just
we end up.
a sketch or something, right?
I think they definitely need a site plan, and they're down in that hole, there could be wetlands. And
No, that's the thing. Look at this wetlands.
They gotta figure out their drainage, they gotta figure out how much parking they're gonna need, how many spaces.
And it
There's
sounds
a
like
lot to that.
Adam and the other gentlemen are the owners, is that right?
No, Adam's
Adam's
Yeah,
owns
the
a lot.
friend, it's one of the friend families
Okay.
lots,
So it sounds like they're gonna lease.
and they want to either purchase it or at least purchase or
Right.
some sort of arrangement.
Yeah, I think it's worth doing their due diligence.
Yeah, so Adam is just trying to turn it over.
Which is great, yeah. I bet it'd be nice to see something go there.
Done there, yeah.
As long as everybody covers their bases.
Well, do we think a towing company is the right thing to go there?
As a neighbor, would you?
Personally,
You're pretty close.
Personally, I think there'd be better places just to run a business like that, but you know.
Are there other places in town where we go?
Hey, it's not gonna be any louder than deer apartments at times, or the train, or the train going across, you know?
No, but you know, I just want to think
Sometime.
that, you know, personally for a business like that or other things, I would always look for extra room to have more expansion because, you know, if the business really did well, they're stuck in that smaller spot, you know, not easy to expand. But I don't, you know.
It's hard to find property in town now, so people are headed toward these areas that haven't been developed, that have sat there for years and are trying to make arrangements. So this is not the first, second, or third, or fourth one that we've heard about, but usually once it's not abandoned property, but unused property, or property that's been used for parking of big trucks and the flea markets and everything that's gone on, all of a sudden is something that could be sold.
Right.
In the ordinance, there is a pre-application section which they would be able to provide the general characteristics, so that might be enough to, you know, figure out a way forward there, without going into the full application that they have to pay for and provide all the detailed information. So,
I mean, if they want to get any design done, that could be a year away, just from knowing some of these design guys are pretty busy. Surveyors, everything.
Yeah, nothing moves at the speed of light anymore. Any more on this, or do we move on?
I'm good.
Good.
That's interesting.
So we'll go to number 8, discussion items. Site plan review of application of Hoyle Tanner to construct taxi lane, apron, and T-hanger at Pittsfield Airport.
So this is on here just to determine if for the third time the town needs to reapply because the time period is running out. We got an approval in February of last year, which did not get the plan from the engineers, were unable to get the plan to the town so that the planning board could sign it. So we redid this in May. So at the end of May, the site plan review will run out because we don't have the building up yet. The project is less than 50% completed, but starting up on May 1st. So what is substantial, completion here. I don't think we're at it, but do we want to require to go through the whole process again, in which I bring everything in, which we can do.
Can you grant an extension to this board? I'm just seeing if that's in the ordinance, because usually the board can grant a 6 months extension
Yeah,
twice.
you can have up to two 6-month extensions.
We've done that on a couple of the solar facilities.
Yeah, okay, so that's, yeah.
Does that sound like might be enough time?
I think we'd have to have 2. The project is going
Right.
along slow. There's been multiple issues, and now I've heard of more issues. And
So you haven't dug anything, you haven't got a hole there yet?
they've actually started working on where the foundation would be and everything.
Oh, yeah, no.
But there's been total excavation, so they have all of the excavation done. But there are a couple of items that I found out about today, so I think this is going to take a little bit longer than we thought. It's taking the contractor longer to do the project than originally thought.
I told them they should have done it when it was dry a year ago.
It's never dry down there.
I know, that's what I mean.
It's never dry.
The driest year, it's still wet.
So if it's all right, you would be interested in an extension, I can bring in a letter and the map and everything to the next meeting and put that on the agenda.
Yeah, I think that would be the
Yeah,
easiest
go
thing
with
to
the
do.
2. I would agree with you, just from what you said, to go with.
We're going to need the 2. Thank you.
And hopefully, because if we do the 2 and it still doesn't get finished, then they have to come before again, just like we did on. But if I remember correctly, we had, was it the Chimbro one or one of them?
No,
They came in and changed one little thing, and then we could give an application again, try it again.
Time for
Yeah, we do a minor amendment.
Right.
To the one.
They still haven't built that down there, right?
What's that?
The one that, I can't remember who it
Stable?
was.
The solar farms that we're talking about?
Yeah, it wasn't Chimbro though. It was,
Oh, the one down here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Not bad every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still haven't built it.
No.
Yes, that one's still wandering around. They sent out notices to the community and the surrounding area to buy into the project, and I haven't heard anything since then.
Yeah.
That was the one from New York City.
No, thank you.
Because originally the application was from North Carolina or something, and, but like a lot of those things, they get like mortgages, they get sold to the next guy down the road. So, any other discussion on the airport project?
Good luck, Captain.
You need any
Thank you.
information, Walter, where you weren't here? Essentially, there's a major project at the airport.
Yeah.
Government.
I
Yeah.
think that's,
So
I think I know.
it's moving at the normal speed of government work. So.
I figured that out real quick.
And under discussion, items B, projects and items on the planning board would like to accomplish in 2023. Is that for us to discuss, or?
Yes, if there's anything that you're interested in looking at, you might become quite busy. We've got a lot of items floating around here. We've got a new alternate code officer, and he said, I can't believe the town is this busy. He's never seen anything like it. He moves around between the different towns. Al said that too. Al Tempester and Newport.
No, we haven't done a big
Skowhegan's been great.
for years.
Years. And all of a sudden,
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm saying Skowhegan, Madison have been really busy because I work with those communities, so I'm not surprised at the end.
So
It's going to be the same.
that, in a way, it's a good thing for town business, hopefully. Besides the big downtown project.
Searching for a permanent code enforcement
We
officer?
are, and we've spent quite a bit of money on this for advertising and using Indeed. We've used every source that we can think of. I now have the list of the code officers in the state of Maine and have thought I'll get their email addresses and start contacting them, which I feel a little uncomfortable about.
Yeah,
But
that'd be that.
yeah, I know you're going after somebody in another town and they need the code officer, but we've got to do something.
Well,
It's a strategic job.
Well-
There's no code enforcement going on unless it's a really big item, and there's places that need to be cleaned up. And my sending a letter to them and saying calling up doesn't work.
So they still use the term as headhunters?
Yes, that's been talked about.
Or I'm getting old enough yet.
There's not enough heads to hunt now, it seems.
I know, I remember
They're all
Steve,
retiring, aren't they?
I remember Steve Seekins said that the average age of the code enforcement officers in the groups that he was in was over 70, and I'm beginning to believe it's true.
It's not just Pittsfield, lots of places and stuff.
Yes, yes.
The code service. I guess one thing, I mean, if we're looking at, I don't, if it's the planning board's purview exactly, but if, we've been talking tonight about potential rezoning, maybe looking at some of the zoning areas and certain areas of town, because if we're going to do one bit of rezoning, we might consider other ones that might make sense to our...
Didn't they just do that a few years ago? Wasn't that
We looked at a few different things.
Yeah.
So the zoning map, where, I know there's a copy upstairs, that's the only copy I know of.
Yeah, I can't find one online anyway. I've got a GIS layer with the zones on, which is what I've been looking at. So
Maybe we should have that in our package next time.
Well, you should. The issue is getting the correct
Right.
zoning map in the size that will work. A couple of code officers back, they did work with Kleinsmith.
I think that's where I got the GIS information from. So
So
if
we-
you'd like me to, I can. We'll have to review it just to make sure it is exactly the same as the official one. I can make some maps up to whatever scale you'd like, so we can distribute those to the board.
That would be wonderful. We had the small ones, but I don't believe they're correct. It was pointed out by one of the code officers that the one that we were using, which is why we didn't give it out anymore,
Yeah.
did not match the large one, which was the accepted one.
Oh yeah, so that's maybe I need to take a picture of that one and I'll double check all the boundaries and things.
Thank you. That would be appreciated.
Because are we as a town looking to potentially make it easier for some businesses to move in where we're limited on lots and things of that sort?
That would depend on who you talk to. I think overall, yes, definitely.
'Cause I know, there's been some discussion in the past about Somerset Ave coming in. It's like, I don't know, up to the Chevy garage or the car wash or whatever. That, I can't remember if that was highway, commercial, something along that line. And, there was some discussion on potentially making all Somerset Ave that or something along that line a little bit.
There was, some of the residents were very unhappy, while others saw that made their property more valuable.
'Cause I remember, I brought up in one of the meetings that, there was residents that, wanted to possibly bring this up for a zoning change, and they, in their mind, they had a vision that they were going to take away potentially some highway commercial. And I said, well, you open up the zoning change, and at that point, it could go just the opposite way you wanted. If it's opened up to potential change, it could change just the opposite way you wanted if you wanted to open it. Just because you opened it and you had your thought doesn't mean it could go that way. And that kind of changed the way they looked at it quite quickly. And I wasn't promoting either way, but just give them that knowledge that, not everybody thought one way.
This is true. But yes, if we could get a smaller map for everyone to look at, after we do the comparison with the large map, that might point out some other areas where you've got, all the commercial with just a little one residential in the middle or something, and maybe that should be changed or vice versa.
Because
If you've got some areas that have already got, say, like commercial property, like you said, that lot behind that we were just talking about, if that's already kind of being used for commercial stuff anyway, then does it make sense to change those so that it matches what's actually happening on the ground?
Yeah, 'cause the lot where the bowling alley used to be, I never looked at it, but I just assumed that would have been a commercial lot. And it almost makes sense that if it was, or is, then it could possibly be easier used for commercial business. But, essentially, your Route 100 Main Street through Pittsfield, that's more of a potential for commercial use just because of location, and on that Stinson Street that we're working on, granted, one whole side is all commercial or industrial, so the other side, would lean towards potentially being that. And in this position here, with the two last lots down, makes a little bit more sense. If it was in the middle, be surrounded by houses, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's actually a good study to do, because people call all the time looking for properties, and they're now making advances to the people who own the properties, because there's not a lot listed.
Is there anything left in the industrial park, or is that?
We have the former Land Air Express was picked up by a development company that several times now trucking companies have called us, but nothing has happened as of yet. So that one's available. There is a lot that MCI owns down across from where Land Air Express is that is wet.
Yeah,
But
by the tracks there.
a small section could be developed. And then the rest of the properties, in accordance with the wetlands map, are developed.
So in the new section, those are all.
The new section was all picked up by Nitro Trailer that
Right.
plans to utilize it. And is still working on their project. It's just a huge one, and right now grant funding is in the process of being opened up from the ARPA monies and everything that went to their original sources. So hopefully soon more will get opened up so it'll be available, and that could help them.
The lots behind the Chevy dealership, are those gone too?
Those are owned by Nitro.
Okay.
The other parts in the industrial park that are considered wetlands, I still have a hard time with that, because you can visit different parts in this state, other states that a lot more wetlands than that would be considered, and if there's enough money thrown around, things change.
No, I understand.
And
That is a frustrating item, just because of the size and all the areas where you can't develop.
Personally, I think some of these wetland designations, determinations have went overboard quite a bit in some areas.
If you ever saw the file of all the processes that the town went through back when Dwight Dougherty was here, you never would have thought we got the industrial park expansion, but somehow we did get that, so that was really good.
So I told people, all you have to do is go up in an airplane over the state of Maine, and there's no lack of wetlands.
I was going to say, there's all those wetlands are delineated, but it doesn't mean that all wetlands are like high value habitat.
Right, and that's basically a lot of that, because all that land in the industrial park was agricultural field land up until 25, 30, 40 years ago. And,
And like I say, if you've got if there's enough desire to do it, then if the DEP get involved, you can actually develop over a wetland and just say that you're going to, preserve another one somewhere else.
right, that's what I've seen
You
offset.
can do the trading.
So I really don't think that should really be prevented.
I've seen a number of places that were determined wetlands, and they actually would hire agricultural farms to come in and farm that land for a number of years, and basically were able to get it back designated back out. Right, I've seen that happen right in Pittsfield. That's as far as I'll go. But, do we need anything else to discuss tonight?
Do we have any alternates? Is this it?
Not at this moment.
I tried to get one earlier.
We thought we had a couple of people, and I do apologize for being late. Both of my legs were having leg spasms, so I couldn't get any place. But it worked out. I could stand up after a while and move one and get going. So I apologize I was late. But you got in anyway.
Get in. All good.
Well, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I guess we're all done.
Bye.
Not ready to jump into that fire.
But yeah, that's just one thing.
Up there with Chris, look at the house, look at his life. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Good to see everybody.
Jim, Mark.
It's been a long time.
Do we have a next meeting?
See you next month maybe? Probably not. No, but, well,
I've never had
I think it's been a year since I've been to a meeting.
Catherine, we're gonna meet next month, or is it gonna be in, June now, probably?
I think it'll be next month because we've got legal advice that I'll hopefully get back, but all the attorneys are gone at him now. So this was the attorneys at the farm.
Is that great too?
Then we've got two other people out there wandering around.
Yeah, it's like plexiglass. You can come most of the time, dude, look at it if you want. I got access right up to it.
Oh, yeah.
You can pull downstairs and walk in the catwalk down the trusses and take a look at it, get a ladder up to it. It's like a closet.
Yeah. Well, come down, get up there and look and see what's going on.
I'll put you up there. I just haven't motivated to go up there.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that would use it for light bulbs with a shoot out.
I guess say that, but it's like,
Right. You want to give somebody an idea?
Yeah.
Can I use your couple today?
So they must have done the conditional use permits different in the past, because they didn't do site plans with them, but I agree that you're changing your use, because that's a conditional use is a change of use, so it does fit. But I also think if there was some way to abbreviate it, that would be good for these little things. Yeah, what do you think about that? Is there some sort of option we can build
As
in?
I said, you get some legal advice on what's in the chart and what you read. I mean, it sounds like it's either way. But
Yeah, and it looks like from the few that I found that as long as they met the conditions, they got to
Right.
go, and
It's good to
then
go.
the chart wasn't in effect, but it is. There's a section of the ordinance, because you have to read all these ordinances together and all the sections together. There's a section that says, and with the chart and similar type uses, so things that are determined to be
A
similar.
lot of them are, temporary daycares, houses and stuff like that, which is kind of what's in the chart, which was mostly thought of.
I'll let these guys read it now.
Yeah.
Don't do what they say. So, go with Catherine and Mark.
Are we able to know what the third one was, what we here tonight?
They've got a business in a residential area, but it's at the boundary of a couple of areas here. So I don't know if they'll go forward, but if they did, it's not as intensive as the towing business. Yeah, the towing business would be good for the town.
What
It's just-
location?
I know. We looked at the maps to try to find something that was for sale, and there's nothing.
I know a good location.
Good.
Andy's video one. Andy building.
Oh, that
Springer.
little one?
The old state garage.
He's pretty.
No, you're not
Pretty happy. You know what I mean, but,
You're not gonna let that go.
No, but you know what I mean, it was because easy access to the highway and everything else, as far as that, because,
It's a pretty nice facility.
right. Better now than when they get rid of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya. Just need to shut it down, I thought it was zoomed down.
I can turn that around. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.